US economist Fiona Scott Morton has pulled out of the running for the chief economist position at the European Commission. Antitrust chief Margrethe Vestager said she accepted the decision with regret. For more on this story, we can bring in our European Affairs editor, Armen Georgian. Armen, great to see you. Why was this appointment so controversial?
Yeah, this has been rumbling for a few months, actually, Delano. The news of the appointment came through in April, but the controversy really came to a head last night and this morning. But just to give you a sort of summary of, I suppose, the two main arguments against her appointment. One was that, the EU has a lot of talent. It's got 450 million people almost. It's also a regulatory superpower. So why couldn't a qualified European be found for the top competition job, which has to do with regulation? And that was a point raised last night, for example, by MEPs. But also the fact her particular history was also raised. The fact that she had been a consultant for some of these big tech giants in the US, Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft, and these are precisely the companies that the EU is now trying to regulate. And this is why President Macron remarked rather wryly, can you imagine a senior European economist being appointed to such a sensitive job in Washington, D.C.?
It's not an untrue statement what the French president said. But why the change of heart? Because we did have EU officials who were defending this appointment.
Yeah, and indeed, Margrethe Vestager, the EU commissioner who chose Fiona Scott Morton, you mentioned her in your introduction. She went up before members of the European Parliament last night. She was very adamant that there was no conflict of interest, so she kept pushing back against the MEPs, but the MEPs were having none of it. They were basically voicing their concerns over and over again. So it was sort of a standoff in a way. What seemed to kind of shift the dynamic really was events since that hearing and a meeting of the European commissioners themselves. We understand that a number of EU commissioners urged President von der Leyen, the head of the European Commission, to reconsider this whole thing, to have another debate, to have a think about, what all of this means, given the sort of state of the backlash. And so all of this led to Fiona Scott Morton herself withdrawing. She said in a letter to Margrethe Vestager, given the political controversy that has arisen because of the selection of a non-European to fill this position and the importance that the Directorate General has the full backing of the European Union as it enforces, I have determined that the best course of action is for me to withdraw. So she's really highlighting the fact that there are now these cracks within the EU, that somehow this is not good for the EU's image. So she has, in a sense, relieved the pressure on who would have been her boss, Margrethe Vestager, and on the European Commission by essentially withdrawing unilaterally, it would seem.